Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast, part of the Bet Rivers Network. We come to you for this Football Friday show for Week 14, which will be an enormous week in the National Football League. There are a lot of tight races. There are a lot of log jams as to who's going to take control. You have some new faces at the top, as you know, the Pats and the Broncos. Obviously, the Rams on the other side, but other teams they're contending too. So there are 5 critical games that we'll get to. 2 of them are in prime time on Sunday and Monday, which is good because you get good games this weekend slots. 5 critical games that will have a very big say. And let's be honest, some games this week, I think, will move you, or at least move me towards thinking a team is in or out based on what's ahead of their schedule, how many easy marks they have, how many tough games they have left. And of course, you have the Chiefs there with Andy saying they'll run the 5 and tickle their fans' tonsils. We'll see how that works out. But really, a very interesting week. Now, bye week late, mercifully for the Giants, who have had a very tough week in a lot of different ways. But a week off for them after their awful performance against the Pats. The Pats get to take Bowers and a week off, something that Vrabel will put to very good use. If you are a contending team, a time off either in a Thanksgiving game or a bye this week can be unbelievably positive for your team. Not only to get rests up the little nicks and bruises and beatings that everybody has taken, but also gives you a chance to let your players get away for a couple of days, and it gives the coaching staff a chance to really take a look at themselves, look at things they never get a chance to look at. All parts of special teams, fourth down stuff, red zone stuff, all different things that really you don't get a chance to week in and week out to work on like you would really like to. Special plays, things that you might need in these final weeks of the season. So big week for the Pats, big week for the Niners, and they have done a brilliant job. I have sung their praises, their coaches' praises all year with the amount of injuries they've had to keep people and relying on people like McCaffrey. They have done a wonderful job and even done it without their quarterback a lot of the time. And then the Panthers, who have had a really good season, they really have. And for them to be in contention this late is a real big step in the right direction. So the Giants, the Pats, the Niners, the Panthers get buys, 5 huge games, and we'll get to the whole thing for you. Then we'll do the Francesa 5 for week number 14. Um, in college football, you have a very awkward conference championship week. I mean, let's be honest, everyone's interested in Ohio State, Indiana, but other than none of them won and staying undefeated, and to see if Indiana can actually has actually behind their brilliant architect, have they actually closed the gap? We will get to that. But the games don't mean much towards the playoff. There's a couple of spots where they do, but in a lot of spots they don't. You know, whether if you're Indiana or Ohio State, you're in, and you're not going to lose your seeding. If you're Texas Tech, you're in, and you might lose a little seeding. I don't think you're going to gain anything with a win, but you want to hold your spot, and you might actually be able to move up to number 3 if that interests you. That's how good Texas Tech really is. They're one of the best teams in the country this year, and they might be the 3rd best team in the country this year. We'll get to all that. Now, first, let me tell you about the Mike Francesa newsletter. Sign up for the free, and that's the keyword free, Mike Francesa newsletter. You get exclusive content, contests, little things. I'm sure something for Christmas. Go to the MikeFrancesAPodcast.com and sign up. And remember, it's absolutely free. Now, Bet Rivers wants you to know that players who place a qualifying same game parlay of at least $10 on any NFL or NCAA football game will receive an entry into the weekly Squares game. And it's a fun way to play. Winning Squares can earn up to $50 bonus bets per entry. See the Bet Rivers app or website for full details. Now, Jets come off a win. They get the Dolphins. A winnable game at home. Yes. Keep them, keep their momentum going. Dolphins are 5-7. not even out of it yet if they can run the table. 5-7, they've won 4 of their last 5. I remember people saying, "Oh, the coach is gone today. Coach is gone today." Well, the coach is still there, and he's won 4 of his last 5 games. So the Dolphins at 5-7 come in to play the Jets. Ashawn has had an amazing season. 1,034 yards rushing, 5.6 a clip, 11 touchdowns, and another 370 yards receiving. Overall, 11 touchdowns. What a brilliant year for him, who does not get anywhere near the attention that he deserves or the acclaim that he deserves. I told you about the big 5 games. Okay. I'm going to take those right now. Then I'll go backtrack to the other games. Colts at Jags. Colts at 8-4. Jags at 8-4. Jags doing it with defense and some timely big plays from Trevor Lawrence, who continues to make mistakes, but continues to make big plays. Tough as nails, hangs in there. Colts are 8-4. They're trying to get by with a banged up Daniel Jones. We know he's got a bad leg. They need to have the best runner in the league run well. Need to have a healthy Warren, which they didn't have last week. He was battling the flu. They need to get their offense clicking again. The Colts have hit a little bit of a skid. This is a big game. 8-4, 8-4. Big game. Texans breathing down their throats at 7-5. Get the Chiefs later. Big game to start that. Offense versus defense. Colts on the road. Steelers and Ravens at 6-6. They will play twice. Steelers, you know there's issues with Rodgers. You know there's issues with the wide receivers. They just added Thielen and waivers this week. Ravens are sending Lamar Jackson out there. All that is the same is his name. This is not even a sliver of Lamar Jackson. He has not produced a touchdown in 3 games, either running or passing. Think about that. Think about that. He's clearly got multiple injuries. His throwing is so far off. He isn't even a running threat anymore, but for 3 or 4 yards. Both quarterbacks hurting, both offenses hurting, both teams trying to piece together some kind of rally. Going to be interesting to see what happens. Ravens 6-point favorite at home. I think it's too many. I think it'll be a tight game. I think it'll be a typical Steeler-Raven game. Which quarterback makes a play in a big spot? Hard to tell right now. There's a lot going on. A lot going wrong with both quarterbacks right now. 2 of the bigger, the biggest quarterback of this generation, and Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, going back now, dating, what he did. Mahomes has moved front and center in this as he's younger, and he's been to multiple Super Bowls. But Rodgers has been the standard for a very long time. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a 4-time MVP. He's a Super Bowl winner. But he's hurting. He doesn't have a lot of weapons. The defense is not Steel-alike. They're calling for Tomlin's head, although I don't think Tomlin's going anywhere. Fascinating game on a lot of levels. Which team emerges? I think it's going to be a fight to the finish and a very tight one. The Bears at 9-3. They're the number 1 seed now, having won 5 games in a row, having turned people over, having gotten breaks in games, having made breaks in the final 2 minutes of games, and then going into Philly on Black Friday and just pounding the Eagle defense with a running game to the tune of 280 yards. What are the Bears? Now they play a Packer team that doesn't let people run on them. A Packer team that now is getting a very, very big lift from Love the last couple of weeks. Love is 6 touchdowns, no interception in his last 3 games, and he started to play at the top of the league. If he couples that with his defense, this team is very good. Bears at Packers. Packers, as you know, in history, in the last 20 years, have owned the Bears. But the Bears have won 5 in a row. They play twice in the next 3 weeks. Huge game with the Bears and the Packers. Sunday night, The Texans at 7-5, having won 4 games in a row, having in their last 2 games kept the Colts and the Bills under 20 points. Number 1 defense in the league. Offense starting to get a little more consistent. Chiefs needing, without any question, at 6-6 to run the table. Are they capable? They're the Chiefs. They also have 3 easy games out of 5. Can they run the table? Well, I should say 2 easy games out of 5. They have the Raiders. They also have Denver, which would like to put them out of the misery. Chiefs on the offensive line. And this is when the Chiefs can't fix things. If you've looked at them in the Andy Reid Mahomes era, which has been a dominant era of 9 straight division titles, which is over, all these trips to the Super Bowl, all these victories, all this dominance, the times they have collapsed is when their offensive line was not fixable in the short term. Are they in that position again? I'm afraid they are. Simmons is hurt. Taylor's hurt. Smith is hurt. They're bringing guys off the practice squad to play on the offensive line against the best defense in the league. A defense has sacked Buffalo 8 times. 8 times. You'll know early in this game, if KC can't block them, they can't win. I don't think they can block them. And then Monday night, the Eagles coming off 2 terrible games and all these rumors of all this chaos. Is it like 2 years ago? I don't think so, because they have 3 games that are very winnable. 2 games with the Commanders. They're going to win 11 games. Even if they blow this game and their other against the competitive team, they are going to win 11 games. They're going to make the playoffs. I can't see them collapsing against the Commanders. But this game will be tough because Herbert's going to play despite the surgery late last week. And they're going to get their young running back. He's been on IR. Hampton. He's going to come back for this game. And they say he's looked very good in practice. Chargers at home. Eagles blew a 21-0 lead to the Cowboys, which has led to a Cowboy resurgence, obviously, in recent weeks. And then they were run over by the Bears. What's going on with the Eagles? We'll see on Monday night. So 5 enormous games with enormous playoff ramifications. Eagles and the Chargers on Monday night. Texans and the Chiefs on Sunday night. Bears and the Packers. Steelers and the Ravens. Colts and the Jags. 5 enormous games with incredible playoff implications. Seahawks will play the Falcons. Falcons can't get out of their own way. Obviously, a coaching change coming. Seahawks at 9-3 have not gotten the acclaim because of the Rams, because of the Niners, but they have had a very good season. They have a game with the Rams coming up in Seattle in a couple of weeks that they can't wait for. They obviously get enough out of Sam Darnold. He might have the occasional bad interception game, but overall, he's playing very well. Their defense is good. They're a good team. The Bengals and the Bills. Bengals are 4-8. They're not going to make it anywhere. But if they have Burrow at center, they are an extremely dangerous team. They have Burrow at center. Bills, it's there for the Bills. The Bills aren't going to win the division. They're not going to get their dream of winning out in the old building and carrying the Super Bowl trophy into the new building. But they can still complete the dream. This could be their year because they might show up in the AFC playoffs and there might be no Lamar Jackson and there might be no Mahomes, no Andy Reid. Some new faces that have had good years, some other beat-up teams, and then the Bills. This might be there for the Bills to get on a run, to patch their problems, get on a run, and run the table in the postseason. This could be their year. Titans and Browns. Hey, Titans are trying to get Cam Ward through the entire season and get a new coach. Browns, still a chaotic situation at quarterback, but at home they can be very tough defensively. You figure they find a way to win their fourth game. Commanders and Vikings. Commanders, listen, they had a great run last year all the way to the NFC title game with a rookie quarterback. He's been hurt all year. They've had guys hurt all year. You saw how much it meant to have McLaurin back last week at wide receiver. McLaurin back for the first time, really healthy all year. This year's a throwaway for them. The ownership knows it. Everyone knows it. They're just looking at it, evaluating people. They played really well and hard against the Broncos. Vikings have been an utter embarrassment. Now McCarthy comes back at quarterback, and you're saying, "Oh wow, isn't that great?" Well, no, it's not. But when you realize that his replacement threw 38 passes last week, 4 to the other team, plus got sacked 4 times in another embarrassing loss, the Vikings, you have to find a quarterback, and they don't have one right now. Saints think they have found a quarterback. Now, they got to start to build around them. Bucs should be getting healthier. They're 7-5. They should get to 8-5 here. They have their eyes on another division title. Baker's okay. He can play through his injury. Evans could be ready to come back. They should get better as the season progresses. Broncos and Raiders. Normally, you'd say throw out the numbers in this game, and the Raiders will always play hard against the Broncos. I don't even know if they're capable of doing that now. You know that they haven't won the division. They've lost 6 straight games. The Broncos have won 9 straight games. I'm not even sure that's the case. The Raiders are an incredible embarrassment, and they have no offensive line. Rams lost one last week because they finally turned the ball over. Stafford had a rare game, 2 interceptions and a fumble lost. I still make him the favorite for the MVP. I think they bounce back this week against a Card team that's just finishing the season. So I expect the Rams at 9-3 to bounce back, and the Rams obviously want to get home field. They know what it will mean. They know what they want to do. They expect the Bears to fall against the Packers. We'll see if that happens, and they can take over the number 1 spot. They obviously have to deal with Seattle down the road. But the Rams and Seattle would both be 10-3 if form holds. And I expect the Rams to bounce back in this game. So Dolphins and Jets, as far as New York goes, buys for the Giants, the Pats, the Niners, and the Panthers, and then the 5 big games. And I've said this all along, how much injuries played a part in this season. Now, the NFL is always a war of attrition. And you try so hard to keep your quarterback healthy. And you try so hard to keep your key people healthy, but it's an impossible mission. And this year, you've seen so many key players go down. And even this week, you look at the big games. How many come in with healthy quarterbacks? The Colts don't. The Steelers don't. The Ravens don't. Both the Bears and the Packers do, which is a positive. Eagles, rumors that he's not healthy. Chargers is coming off surgery. Texans, he's been in and out of the lineup, shrouded with concussions. Mahomes has been, even last week, Mahomes had a good game. I mean, he threw 4 touchdown passes in the loss to the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. But now his offensive line, no Simmons, Taylor, and Smith haven't practiced this week. Bringing guys up from the practice squad. I mean, it is a tall order. And you have seen so many key players go down with injuries this year. remarkably how many have gone down with injuries and how much of a problem that is trying to piece these teams. I mean, the Chargers got off to a 3-0 start in the division. They thought they were going to have a huge season, and they watched as their entire offensive line crumbled, their pass rush crumbled, their running backs crumbled. They were 4 deep on the running back roster to get a running back in the game. They had no offensive linemen. They lost Alt. They lost their best pass rusher. And they've tried to piece that together, and they have to the tune of 8-4, and they hope they're getting healthier. The Eagles, there's all kinds of rumblings. Nobody knows exactly what's going on with the Eagles. Is there a problem with their quarterback and the team? Well, there shouldn't be. I mean, the guy's been nothing but a prolific winner. What else would you want out of your quarterback? He's played great in big games. He's played as well as anybody has ever played in 2 Super Bowl games, ever. He obviously is nursing something because he's not running with the abandon that he ran with in the past. And clearly Brown has been a disruptive force to the team to the point where they need to get rid of him. Now, there's no smarter team as far as the front office goes than the Eagles. They fixed things yesterday. They fixed them before they fester. Before one problem affects a whole unit. And there are times that they weren't able to do it. Like 2 years ago, the team just collapsed. And people think this is reminiscent of that. I don't think it is exactly. Do I think there's problems? Yes. Do I think they're going to collapse? I think they could, but I think the schedule will not allow them to. I think that's the key. I don't think the schedule will allow them to collapse. This week, the Chargers, tough game. Next week, Raiders at home. That's as automatic as an NFL game can get right now. So that even if they lose this week, that gives them 9 wins. Then the Commanders. They're not going to lose to the Commanders with a playoff spot on the line. That's 10 wins. You go to week 17, they have a big game. Eagles at Bills. And the Bills are going to need that game. But they come off that game, and what do they have to close the season? Another game with the Commanders. That means if the Eagles lose to the Chargers and to the Bills, they're still going to win 11 games. 11 games is going to win them the division 9 out of 10 times. They're going to the playoffs. This team is not going to collapse against those teams. They're not going to collapse against the Raiders and the Commanders, who have not won in almost 2 months apiece. That is not going to happen with playoff spots on the line. Who you play and when you play them can be an unbelievable remedy in the NFL. I've always said that. If you have the wrong game or the wrong stretch of games at the wrong time, it can ruin your season. When you get a couple of cushiony games when you need them, and let's be honest, if the Eagles lose to the Chargers on Monday night, they will be reeling. They need the game they have at home. The Raiders, who have no offensive line, who have no team, who Geno Smith is going through a nightmare. People wondering if Pete Carroll should just retire. Okay, they've already gotten rid of their offensive linemen. They're killing Pete Carroll for having his sons on the roster, on the coaching staff. 2 of them. They want them gone. This thing is in chaos. The Raiders are not going to upset anybody's apple cart. They are not the team that's going to. There are teams out there that can upset somebody. Even the Jets could upset somebody now. The Raiders are not going to upset somebody. Their team is a disaster in every way. It is not going to happen. So when you play those games, really matters. Now let's look at the Chiefs because everybody finds them so fascinating. Okay, they have a huge Sunday night game with a very banged up offensive line, so it is not a very good matchup for them to get Houston this week. Houston can beat them. Let's say they get beat. Are they out with 7 losses? Maybe, because their conference record is under 500. They can't break ties. I think they need to win all 5 games because their conference record is not going to win a tiebreaker against anybody in the AFC. With that being the case, they have to beat the Texans. Then they turn around and they get the Chargers at home. After that, they get an easy week. They get the Titans. So 2 hard games, then the Titans. After the Titans, in week 17, I believe they get the Raiders. No, excuse me, week 17, they get the Raiders in week 18. In week 17, they get the Broncos at home. We know how much the Broncos want to end this for the Chiefs. So the Chiefs have to beat the Texans, the Chargers, and the Broncos to run the table. They can win the other 2 games. They're both against the Raiders. I mean, no, Titans and Raiders, both easy wins. But they have 3 tough games, starting with the Texans this week with this offensive line in chaos. That makes it very, very tough. Then you have the Bears and the Packers who will meet twice in 3 weeks. You have the Steelers and Ravens, both at 6-6, both with banged up quarterbacks, will meet twice. Will meet twice. Let's look at the Steelers for a second. Ravens this week. Next week, the Dolphins on Monday night. Not a pushover game. Then at the Lions. Then Browns in Cleveland. And then the last game, which if it is, could be one of the real big ones. Remember, last weekend is always a divisional weekend. It's Steelers hosting Ravens. And that could be for everything with these 2 teams. And it is really the most likely. There's 2 games in week 18 that look like they could be playoff games. Steelers and Ravens is one. Colts and Texans is the other. The third possibility is Seahawks and 49ers if the Rams have taken control of the division. So there's 3 of them, 3 conference games that could be real playoff games. You know how they like that last Sunday night game to be a playoff game if they can help it. And they have a chance with those 3 games that one of them will be. But you know what? You got a great week 14. You got some good college football on Saturday. You got a great week 14 with these 5 big games, including 2 big matchups, and maybe the end of some of these teams that have been so dominant in recent years, including Andy and Mahomes and the Chiefs. We'll see you later.